report this evening?
I do, Madam President. Thank you. I'll begin tonight talking about power outages and street lighting. The city has been experiencing power outages recently at the North Olmsted Rec Center and in the Bretton Ridge neighborhood on the west end of North Olmsted. I met last week with Dave Conley, Regional Director of External Affairs with the Illuminating Company, to give voice to our concerns about these issues and numerous concerns over street lighting in various parts of our community. I will continue to keep council updated with our communication with the Illuminating Company about those issues. In addition, the Illuminating Company will be doing presentations at our service garage next Tuesday and Wednesday, November 8th and 9th, both beginning at 9 a.m., concerning how to deal with downed electrical wires. The first of those presentations took place this morning for our employees, and any of you are invited, or members of the community who are interested in learning about that process are invited to attend. Leaf pickup is underway and continues moving west to east throughout North Olmsted. Yard waste will continue to be picked up through November 25th. As a reminder, Election Day is next Tuesday, November 8th. Please make sure to encourage your residents to exercise their right to vote. Our safety forces continue to address the speeding issues throughout our city, with our safety director putting together a comprehensive traffic safety plan for our city. And speaking of safety, I had the privilege of swearing in our newest police officer this afternoon, Officer Alexander Pickens. We congratulate him as he begins his career in our police department. The North Olmsted Senior Center will host its annual fundraiser, the International Food Cook-Off, tomorrow, Wednesday, November 2nd, from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Springvale Ballroom. And the Senior Center will also host a Friendsgiving luncheon in preparation for the Thanksgiving holiday on Wednesday, November 16th. A traditional Thanksgiving meal will be served beginning at 11:30 in the North Olmsted Community Cabin, and the meal is sponsored by O'Neill Healthcare. On Veterans Day, the city and the school district are joining forces to fet our local veterans on Veterans Day, Friday, November 11th, at the North Olmsted High School Performing Arts Center. The celebration is hosted by the North Olmsted VFW Post 7647, the North Olmsted High School Sites Program, the High School Symphonic Orchestra, Symphonic Chorale, Art Department, and the Cuyahoga County Veterans Service Commission. I will be giving a very brief welcome at the event, and I encourage all council members, if you're able to attend, to do so. A hugely successful Trek at the Rec was held this past Friday evening, October 28th, at the Rec Center. Over 300 children received candy and treats and pumpkins handed out by Service Director Carney. I'm most appreciative to our Recreation Department staff for doing such a great job to make it all happen, along with the members of our North Olmsted Arts Commission. On Tuesday, November 22nd, Maple Intermediate School's PTA will host a mobile produce pantry from 4:30 until 6:30 p.m. in collaboration with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. The Maple PTA will provide free, fresh produce to the North Olmsted community at Maple Intermediate School. This is a drive-through service, and you do not need to leave your vehicle. And finally, this Thursday, I will attend a meeting at the Aerozone Alliance to review the current conditions assessment that the County Planning Commission will be presenting to the member cities. The analysis focuses on 4 key areas: transportation and infrastructure, land use and zoning, economic development, and workforce. I will continue to keep council updated on these findings, and that, Madam President, concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Director of Law Garreau, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Madam President. No report this evening.
Thank you. Finance Director Coffer, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening.
No report this evening. Well, all right then. Moving into council committee reports, as chairwoman of the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee, I will report on the committee meeting held earlier this evening on November 1st, beginning at 7:01 p.m. Present were committee members Williamson, Glassburn, and Kelly. Our council members Gilchrist, Heeman, Limpert, and Scarl. The mayor, law director, human resources director, economic development director, safety director, special assistant to the mayor, and guests. On the agenda was liquor permit number 226-250-50050 for DoorDash Essentials LLC, doing business as Dash Mart West Unit, located at 23100 Lorraine Road. After a review by our police department and seeing no issues, a motion was made to not object to liquor permit number 226-250-50050, and that motion was passed with a vote of 3-0. Motion to, at this time, I would like to make a motion to not object to liquor license permit number 226-250-50050 for DoorDash Essentials LLC, doing business as Dash Mart West Unit, located at 23100 Lorraine Road, and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Kelly. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Heeman,
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow,
Yes.
Liquor license permit number 226-250-50050 for DoorDash Essentials LLC, doing business as Dash Mart, was not objected to by a vote of 7-0. Councilman Limpert, Chairman of the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam President, but if I could have a moment of personal privilege.
Yes.
I just wanted to take a quick moment to echo some of the comments that the mayor made. Having a young family here in the city, this month was amazing for the amount of activities and events that were publicized, between trunk or treats, Trek at the Rex, Frostville, Pumpkinville, decoration contest that was individual residents, but the city took the opportunity to kind of notify and make people aware of that. And I just wanted to, sometimes we get caught up in the busyness and we're in a tough economy right now, but it really is a tremendous time to have family in this city right now. And I just want to commend all the people that participate in all those events to make it just a wonderful fall. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Heeman, Chairwoman of the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do, thank you. The Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee met October 25th to discuss 2022-94, a resolution authorizing the Director of Recreation and Public Engagement to solicit bids for the rental of golf carts and related vehicles for Springvale, and upon approval of the Board of Control, further authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder and declaring an emergency. The meeting was called to order at 7:01 p.m. Present were committee members Heeman and Limpert, council members Gilchrist, Glassburn, Kelly, and Williamson, the mayor, human resource director, service director, director of recreation and public engagement, the city engineer, and the special assistant to the mayor, and the superintendent of the wastewater treatment plant. Director Pinchek discussed the proposed lease agreement, which will change from 75 golf carts to 78 golf carts and continue as a 4-year lease with an option for a 5th year. Currently, the lease agreement that we have requires twice-weekly maintenance, which accrues to a 17% ratio of new golf carts per year. Our current vendor is having difficulty meeting the maintenance obligation, which makes going out to bid not only a preference on a regular basis, but also a necessity at this point because of the particular circumstance. Other discussion was had regarding the golf carts and the bidding process. Chairwoman Heeman made a motion to recommend 2022-94 to all of council, seconded by Mr. Limpert. Motion passed with a vote of 2-0. The meeting concluded at 7:05 p.m. Thank you, Madam Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Glassburn, Chairman of the Finance Committee, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, I do, Madam Chair. Finance Committee met on October 25th at 7:05. Present were committee members Glassburn, Limpert, and Williamson, as well as council members Gilchrist, Heeman, and Kelly. The mayor, HR director, service director, recreation director, and special assistant to the mayor. Topic was 2022-93, which concerns the compensation of at-large members of council. The legislation mirrors what the ward compensation was, which is a pay freeze the first 2 years, and then small increases in years 3 and 4. It was recommended 3-0, and the meeting closed at 7:07.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly, Chairman of the Streets and Transportation Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report tonight, but I'd like a moment of personal privilege.
Certainly.
Okay. So during the trick-or-treat event on Monday, yesterday, my family and I were out in the Park Ridge area doing the trick-or-treating. And I have to say that the police department, they had a lot of cruisers out. They had the auxiliaries out in those cruisers. They had great interaction with the children, actually giving out candy and taking photos with the kids. And I mean, it was really nice. And I thanked the auxiliary that I dealt with at that point for being there. And I've heard it from other residents today in their neighborhoods. They had the same type of interaction, so I think it was excellent. As far as the interaction with the kids and making sure that we're safe while we're out and about. One other thing, last meeting we had the resident from Lansing Drive complaining about the speed. There's a speed sign that's been put, the electronic speed sign has been put in place on Lansing. There'll be some data downloaded from that eventually in a week or so when that's taken down. And there's been police patrol in that area and police details for the speed. And again, I thank the police department for their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Gilchrist, Vice Chair of the Environmental Control Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do have a report today. The Environmental Control Committee met on Tuesday, October 25th, 2022, to discuss ordinance number 2022-95, Pretreatment Biosolids Coordinator, and resolution number 2022-96, South Interceptor EQ Tank Bid. The meeting was called to order at 7:10 p.m. In attendance were committee members Gilchrist and Kelly, council members Glassburn, Heeman, Limpert, and Williamson, Mayor Jones, Wastewater Treatment Plant Supervisor Bloom, HR Director Kidd, Service Director Kearney, Recreation Director Pinchek, Special Assistant to the Mayor Massarello, and Engineer DeFranco and guests. The committee first reviewed Ordinance 2022-95, an ordinance amending and reestablishing Section 141.99-B of the Administrative Code entitled Composition and Organization of the Department of Public Service in order to create the position of Pretreatment Biosolids Coordinator and to amend the organizational chart accordingly. Wastewater Treatment Plant Supervisor advised the position will be a combination of 2 part-time positions into 1 full-time position at the wastewater treatment plant. The current positions have high turnover rates, and it is hoped that making 1 full-time position will promote retention in the position. This will be an entry-level position. At the end of the discussion, Ms. Gilchrist made a motion to favorably recommend 2022-95, seconded by Kelly, passing with a vote of 2-0. The committee then proceeded to discuss Resolution 2022-96, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids to award a contract for construction of the sanitary sewer South Interceptor Flow Equalization Tank Project, as detailed in the specifications on file with the city engineer, and further authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Pete DeFranco and guests led the discussion. It was discussed that the tank will hold a total of 1.5 million gallons of fluid. The plans call for the building to be in the back of the property currently in the foliage area, and ground trees will be planted to make the area more discreet. The building will be designed to blend into the current residential area, while the roof will be made from flat aluminum material. At the end of the discussion, Ms. Gilchrist made a motion to favorably recommend 2022-96, seconded by Kelly, passing with a vote of 2-0. The meeting ended at 7:34 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Gilchrist, again, Chairwoman of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Do you have a report this evening?
I do have a report today. The Intergovernmental Committee met on Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, to consider Mayor Jones's recommendation for appointment to the Building and Zoning Board of Appeals and the Arts Commission. The meeting was called to order at 7:35 p.m. In attendance were committee members Gilchrist, Geeman, and Scarl, council members Glassburn and Kelly, and guest, and the mayor, law director, HR director, economic director, safety director, service director, and special assistant to the mayor. The committee discussed the appointment of Mr. Mike Kovach to the Building and Zoning Board of Appeals to fill a vacant position for the term of January 1st, 2019 to December 31, 2023, as well as an appointment of Mr. Sean McGrath to the Arts Commission for the term of January 1, 2022 to December 31, 2025. At the conclusion of the discussion, Ms. Gilchrist made a motion to approve the appointments as read, seconded by Heeman, and the committee voted to unanimously to recommend the appointments of Mr. Kovach and Mr. McGrath. The committee meeting concluded at 7:45 p.m. At this time, Madam Pro Tem, I would like to make a motion that council approve the appointment of Mr. Mike Kovach to the Building and Zoning Board of Appeals for the term of January 1, 2019 to December 31, 2023, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Mike Kovach to the Building and Zoning Board of Appeals for the term of January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2023, made by Councilwoman Gilchrist, seconded by Councilwoman Heeman. Roll call, please.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes. Mr. Mike Kovach is appointed to the Building and Zoning Board of Appeals for the term of January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2023 by a vote of 7-0.
And at this time, Madam President Pro Tem, I would like to make a motion that council approve the appointment of Mr. Sean McGrath to the Arts Commission for the term of January 1, 2022 to December 31, 2025.
Second.
And ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Sean McGrath to the Arts Commission for the term of January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2025, made by Councilwoman Gilchrist and seconded by Councilwoman Heeman. Roll call, please.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Sean McGrath is appointed to the Arts Commission for the term of January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2025 by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tem. That concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you. Are there any letters or communications to come before council at this time?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight's council meeting. Public comment offers the opportunity for members of the public to share information and bring issues and concerns to the attention of city council members. It is not a debate, and public comment speakers should not expect a back and forth exchange. Council members may ask clarifying questions of the speakers, city staff, or fellow council members. Those attending city council meetings should show the same respect to others that they wish to have shown to them. If there is anyone in the audience who would like to address council at this time, please come to the podium, state and spell your name and address for the clerk. If you live in a city other than North Olmsted, please state the name of that city and proceed with your comments. You will have up to 5 minutes.
Good evening, council. My name is Malik Kawam from the law firm Manser Gavin LPA. I'm here on behalf of my client, Sacred Waters Kava Bar West, formerly operating as Best Damn Tacos. I'm here essentially to address Resolution 2022-100. And I'll just go through the issues related to the moratorium, and then I'll allow Mr. David Kovach to explain some of the business model behind the restaurant and bar. So temporary moratorium is certainly appropriate in certain circumstances to promote the public health, safety and development of a community, especially as it relates to development of infrastructure and the maintenance of infrastructure. But when issued without consideration, of some of the particular issues of local businesses, it implicates due process concerns as well as government taking. Courts have held that the moratoria of building permits are inadequate, or where the issuance is to stop sewer installation is inadequate, only where there's a reasonable plan for their installation. Based on what the resolution provides for, at least on its face value, it doesn't seem as though there's a reasonable plan for determining, by the end of the moratorium, how to resolve or alleviate council's concerns as it relates to the substances listed in the moratorium. Due process requires a reasonable relationship and a legitimate state interest that's neither arbitrary nor unreasonable. And so pre-existing, businesses that are, operating under the, the aegis of restaurants that serve the particular substances that are listed in the moratoria or resolution 2022-100 are technically not affected by the moratorium, legally not affected by the moratorium, because they cannot apply retroactively. So in the instance of Cava Sacred Waters West, they would be able to continue operating, to sell their drinks under the Cava Bar platform. And so essentially what we're here to do is just make sure that our objections are known tonight to the particulars of that as stakeholders. I know that, we and the members at Sacred Waters are willing to work with council to alleviate any concerns that may exist, and to also ensure that other existing and operating businesses are not stymied in their operation of their business, through a retroactive application. I know that Mr. Kovach has pending right now a request for signage change, but is otherwise operating under the name of Sacred Waters. And so we just want to be sure that there isn't any hurdles that, are contrary to law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm David Kovach. I live in North Olmsted, 4546 Lansing Drive. I own Sacred Waters, formerly known as Bastiam Tacos. And I have some informational packets I'd like to hand out to everyone for a mission statement. Pictures of our first location that's been open for about 6 months in Lakewood. There are over 200 Cava bars throughout the country currently without incident. The first one opened in Florida in 2006, and there's over 100 of them throughout Florida now. What I'm opening is essentially a sober bar. My clientele, many of them don't drink, are in recovery, or just don't want to be around alcohol. And a lot of our clientele are also in the health and wellness industries. We're partnered with a local nonprofit yoga studio. We'll be offering yoga and mindfulness classes once to twice a week. We'll have live entertainment, open mic night, karaoke. We'll have a pool table and foosball and darts. It'll be a great community gathering place for people who do not want to be around or are not comfortable around alcohol. I myself have not had a drink in many years, and that's why I made the decision to do this, because I don't believe in alcohol anymore. I've found this concept. I went to Florida last year and found this concept and fell in love with it. And my friend of 20 years from college moved up here to help expand the business. This is our second location. We're really excited to bring this to the West Side community. It's going to be an amazing space, and we really look forward to serving the community. And our biggest thing we're there to do is to educate people on how to use these herbal supplements properly. There is no age restrictions on anything we serve, but we ourselves think it's the responsible thing to do to put an age restriction on it. So we don't serve anyone who's under 18. We want to keep the community safe just as much as you do and try to make it a better place. So I thank you.
Mr. Kovac, I have a question.
Yes.
Who is you said you're partnering with a yoga studio?
Yes, Cultivate Yoga. They're in Avon.
Thank you.
They're a nonprofit yoga studio. They do donation-based yoga.
I've heard of them. I don't look the likely suspect, but I'm a Reiki master and have 2 certificates to teach yoga. Thank
Cool.
you.
And also one more thing, we are an officially recognized business, veteran-owned business by the state of Ohio and the Secretary of State, Frank LaRose. My partner here is Major Chris Zarowski, Army Ranger and Green Beret. So we're just trying to do something special and help the community.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no other comments, okay.
Sorry, I was waiting to see if you would say that. My name is Karen Mueller. I am a resident of Independence, Ohio. Do you need my address? Okay, I do have a small business in North Olmsted that I opened in December of 2019. And I brought what was already a product that we embraced years ago with our business in Brunswick. One of the products is kava. I know a little bit about it. Probably not as much as David. I'm a little more passionate about a different botanical, which I should have been more proactive, and I should have come to you guys sooner so that you had an idea of what these things were before there was a concern in the community about bringing these products into the community. I think that especially the product that I am passionate about, it's a plant that's native to Southeast Asia, and it's called kratom. It is in its formal name, if you will, is Mitragyline speciosa. The customers that I have, the guests that come into my shop, 90% of them, now, again, 18 and older. I don't work with minors, though there is probably no age restriction, just like David. 90% of them are recovering addicts, whether it's from alcohol, opioids, opiates, you name it, heroin, you name it. And there is no age restriction. Those things do not discriminate. Over the last 8 years, I've been selling kratom and kava, and the lives I've seen changed for the better, myself included. You could call it self-medicating, but if you're given a pill bottle from a doctor, it says take every 4 to 6 hours, or as needed. Well, when you take those things as needed, I took them as needed. I had a bad day of pain, I would take it, but then I'd go for my urine test, and I tested negative because I hadn't taken it in 3 days, and they kicked me out of pain management. I had no options. I found kratom. It was a recovering heroin addict that introduced me to it, and it changed my life. As far as, I'll take a side note, kava is actually native to the South Pacific, which includes the Hawaiian Islands, which is part of the United States. So, given that, you can find a kava bar. He mentioned Florida and the mainland, but on the islands, before they had bars, they had tribes get together, the heads of tribes get together, and they were all having conflict.
And they would sit around and drink kava and calm heads. And it's like a ceremonial thing, and it's also traditional. Then they have little corner bars in Hawaii. You could go to Hawaii and find a kava bar on every corner, and practically in certain parts of Florida, the same thing. So it's really, if you wonder why there haven't been clinical studies, it's because you have to have a chain of custody with plants. You have to start them from seed or root, and then when they mature to about however many age, 5, 7 years, then you can study them. Well, they haven't done it, but I can tell you that 6 years ago, 5 million people in the United States were taking kratom daily. That was their alternative. That's what they chose. Today, there's over 15 million Americans in the United States that take kratom as their alternative to what the doctors peddle them. Those are basically my two products. The state of Ohio is considering implementing what's called the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, okay, which will regulate it, and it's good. We should have regulation. There are bad actors in this business. There are definitely bad actors, and I'd like to weed them out. I opened my business up here because in Brunswick, we had people coming from up here down there for a safe, clean product. So I brought the product to them. And I have yet had any authority come to my business in the last 8 years saying that my product was implicated in an overdose or a contaminated autopsy.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. Oh, that was, okay. I thought I was going on too long. This business, the community does a better policing job than any government agency could. Because if you have a bad product, word gets out real quick. And you're not in business anymore. It's just how it is. So I go to great lengths to make sure that I have certificates of third-party testing for heavy metals, et cetera. It's a clean, safe product. They're gonna find it anywhere, anyway. Now, I think in this, and I won't specifically name the state, but a few years ago, one of the states decided to ban kratom, and their overdose dose deaths went up 20%. I don't want that to happen to this community. Fentanyl's flying over the border right now. And that's all I got.
Thank you.
Hello, Amy Flannery, 6135 Winding Creek. In response to this discussion, as a resident who lives very close to there, I will honestly tell you I'm not against any type of herbal supplements or all-natural products. Growing up with family who is Native American and spending a lot of my time and summers on Navajo Nation myself, I've learned all kinds of herbal substances and herbal things to do all natural, holistic healing. My concern is if you are not having people who are trained and knowledgeable in how to serve these products and who you're serving them to, if you don't know the person walking in your building might be on benzos and they're taking kava, that has a huge interaction that is not good. And then you are talking about overdose issues. You're right in front of a daycare center and a primary school. We don't even put bars that close. Like, that to me is sort of an issue, and I live within walking distance of that. So it's not that I care if a place might possibly come to this residential area. I care where it's located, and I think those things need to be considered. Having children playing in the lot right there, if somebody does take it irresponsibly or doesn't know or isn't monitored correctly, then you could have a problem. So that's just some concerns as a resident of mine that I would hope you'd take into consideration.
Thank you. Okay. one,
It's 2 seconds.
yes.
Okay. One of the other things I'd like to say is that I've done my due diligence. I know what I'm pretty good at what I do. And if you go into a gas station and you want to buy Kratom, you don't know what you're getting. You can't, the people there don't know what they're selling you. Chances are it may not even be Kratom. When somebody walks into my establishment, and for the record, I do not, it's not consumption on site, but anyway, I try to educate them, do not polymix, which means take the benzos and the whatever. It's either one or the other. I do my best to keep people safe.
Thank you.
Madam Chair? Question. Ms. Mueller, I have a question.
Yes.
Are there certifications that you have, said that you were really good at what you do? How did you, what certifications, or how do you obtain that
Well,
knowledge?
I don't have and I'm not trying to be a smarty pants.
No, I just want to know,
I just
are
want
there?
to do an analogy. I do not
Oh,
have.
ma'am, if you have a certification, the answer is yes or no, or?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have one for being
That's
a mom
okay.
either.
Just trying to figure it out.
Okay. Seeing no other comments from the audience, we will now move into legislation.
Legislation on third reading, Resolution 2022-89, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution directing the fiscal officer of Cuyahoga County to pay to the city of North Olmsted, Ohio during the year 2023 all money due and owing said city from any collection source and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I would move to adopt 2022-89 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2022-89 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Resolution 2022-89 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2022-90, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance dispensing with the RFP process otherwise required by sections 111.03 et seq. Of the Administrative Code, and authorizing the mayor, subject to approval of the Board of Control, if necessary, to enter into a one-year agreement with the Walter H. Drain Company for the purpose of providing ordinance codification services to the city of North Olmsted and declaring an emergency.
Madam.
Madam President,
Councilman.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-90. Ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2022-90 made by Councilman Limpert, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes. Ordinance 2022-90 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2022-92, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance amending and reestablishing Chapter 131.99C of the Administrative Code entitled Mayor in order to create the position of part-time support personnel within the Office of Mayor, Division of Mayor's Court, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I'd move to adopt 2022-92 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2022-92 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-92 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Legislation on second reading, ordinance 2022-93, introduced by Councilman Glassburn on behalf of all of council, an ordinance establishing and fixing the compensation for council-at-large members for the term of office commencing January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2027. Resolution 2022-94, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Recreation and Public Engagement to solicit bids for the rental of golf carts and related vehicles for Springvale, and upon approval of the Board of Control, further authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder and declaring an emergency.
Madam Pro Tem?
Councilwoman.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to request suspension of the rules requiring 3 readings regarding 2022-94. It was heard in committee and reported on this evening, and additionally, costs go up quickly in this environment, and we'd like to secure the bids as quickly as possible for those golf carts, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings for Resolution 2022-94 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Mr. Glassbern?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0. If there is anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding Resolution 2022-94, please approach the podium now.
Seeing no takers on the golf carts.
Motion,
Madam Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to adopt 2022-94 and ask for a second.
Second.
motion to adopt Resolution 2022-94 made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Glassbern?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes. Resolution 2022-94 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2022-95, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance amending and reestablishing Section 141.99D of the Administrative Code entitled Composition and Organization of the Department of Public Service in order to create the position of Pretreatment Biosolids Coordinator and to amend the organizational chart accordingly. Resolution 2022-96, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids to award a contract for construction of the sanitary sewer south interceptor flow equalization tank project is detailed in the specifications on file with the city engineer, and further authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Ordinance 2022-97, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance amending the schedule of uses at 1139.03-1 of Chapter 1139 Business Districts of the Planning and Zoning Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted for the purpose of establishing massage establishments operated by the state licensed professionals as a permitted use in the North Olmsted Business District. Legislation on first reading. Ordinance 2022-98, an ordinance amending Chapter 749 of the Business Regulations Code of the City of North Olmsted entitled Massage Establishments.
Madam President, I introduce and place on first reading. Thank you.
Ordinance 2022-99, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to request proposals for pavement management survey, analysis, reporting, and data hosting for public improvements, further authorizing the mayor, subject to approval by the Board of Control, to enter into an agreement with the firm selected in the RFP process.
Madam President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Thank you.
Resolution 2022-100, a resolution declaring a moratorium on the issuance of building zoning or occupancy permits for the premises to be occupied by and used in total or in part for the sale and consumption on site of Kava Kratom Delta 8-THC and /or Delta 9/-THC, and further temporarily prohibiting any such similar use permit, license variance, or development plan approval for said facilities, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I introduce and place on first reading on behalf of myself, Councilwoman Williamson, and Councilman Kelly, and ask for suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, and I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings and formal committee review, as this legislation was discussed in our caucus meeting this evening, and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Kelly. Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings and formal committee review for Resolution 2022-100 made by Councilman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Kelly. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes, with comment. I think it's important that we get this right. Some of these are, as the Economic Development Director said, this is sort of a new concept in the way it's used, and I would just ask that the administration follow up quickly with a path towards reviewing and resolving the moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes, with a comment. I also think it's equally important to do a lot of research on this. As I mentioned in the, comments to the owner of the establishment, I'm a Reiki master and I'm certified to teach yoga. Everybody knows what yoga is. Not very many people even understand what Reiki is. So just even in a realm like that, I think it's important to really review all of the information that we have available to us to compile and make the, reasonable decision that as reasonable people, our residents rely on us to make. So yes, and thank you.
For the record.
There's
No,
no.
sir.
That's okay. That's okay.
Mr. Glassboro?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding Resolution 2022-100, please approach the podium now. Podium, please. And just state your name again for the record.
David Kovach. For the record, we do not serve, use, or support the use of Delta 8 or Delta 9 THC. That is synthesized from something it's not in, and it's highly unstudied, and I do not support that, and we do not serve that.
Thank you.
Members of Council, Resolution 2022-100 establishes a moratorium on the issuance of building, zoning, and occupancy permits. The purpose of the zoning code is to provide for the orderly development of land within the city in a manner that preserves the public peace, health, safety, convenience, comfort, prosperity, and general welfare of the residents and the city as a whole. While it is true that there are establishments that sell the products in question that are subject to this moratorium, there is a distinct difference between the purchasing of this substance at a retail establishment and the sale and consumption of intoxicating substances on site. At this point in time, we simply do not have enough information to answer the two fundamental questions relative to zoning. Should these establishments be allowed in the city? And if so, where? We don't have enough information, which is why we're asking for this moratorium. We plan to do prompt follow-up in subsequent public meetings to fully vet this issue and ask that council gives us the time to study this and make an informed decision to preserve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of our city. Thank you, Madam President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Director.
Karen Mueller. As I understand it, the Best Damn Tacos currently holds a liquor license in the location that he's rebranding. So I would appreciate that we do look into what Cava is and appreciate it it's really not intoxicating to the extent that alcohol is, or we just have to look at it, but just to keep in mind, he's not applying for a liquor license in this location close to a square. He already has that. And I don't think we scrutinize every location. Maybe we do, I don't know. But that's all I'd like to say, to
Thank you.
consider.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments, I'd like to make a motion to adopt 2022-100 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2022-100 made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Kelly. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassboro?
Yes, with comment. Given the first reading of this bill, I read all of the information that was provided to us in advance, and I am even more convinced that this is in the public safety and welfare to do this for the entire city. This isn't about a specific establishment. This is about the safety and welfare of the entire city. Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist.
Yes.
Resolution 2022-100 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Resolution 2022-101, a resolution authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to make application on behalf of the City of North Olmsted for Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and funds for the fiscal year 2023 for the Brook Park Road Underpass Rehabilitation Project. Further authorizing the mayor to accept grant funds if awarded and to execute contract with Cuyahoga County if required, and declaring an emergency. Resolution.
Madam President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Resolution 2022-102, a resolution authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to make application on behalf of the City of North Olmsted to Cuyahoga County to participate in the supplemental grant program, and further authorizing the mayor to accept the grant if awarded and to execute a contract with Cuyahoga County and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2022-103, an ordinance amending sections 2 and 3 of ordinance number 2022-77 to increase the maximum interest rate due to market conditions and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I introduce, place on first reading, and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Madam President, I'd move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review. 2022-103 is in the public welfare to allow us to move forward with this, and given the market conditions, and I ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings and formal committee review for ordinance 2022-103 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0. If there is anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding ordinance 2022-103, please approach the podium now.
Seeing none, Madam President, I move to adopt 2022-103 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2022-103 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-103 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2022-104, an ordinance amending section 2 of ordinance number 2022-78 to increase the maximum interest rates due to market conditions and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I introduce, place on first reading, and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review for 2022-104. Again, this is in the public welfare due to the change in interest rates in the market, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings and formal committee review for ordinance 2022-104 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Lippert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Motion to suspend the rules passed by a vote of 7-0. If there is anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding ordinance 2022-104, please approach the podium now.
Seeing none, Madam President, I move to adopt 2022-104 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2022-104 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-104 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2022-105, an ordinance to make and transfer appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the city of North Olmsted for the year ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency.
I introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2022-107, an ordinance amending section 179.02 of the Administrative Code entitled the Department of Economic and Community Development to clarify the duties of the Director of Economic and Community Development and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I introduce, place on first reading, and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review. Again, it is in the public welfare of this city that the duties of the Director of Economic and Community Development be unambiguous as possible. And I ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings and formal committee review for ordinance 2022-107, made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn.
Yes.
Mr. Limpert.
Yes, with comment. Yeah, as this was discussed, this is generally just some cleanup of language, so I have no issue with suspension. Thank you.
Ms. Williamson.
Yes.
Mr. Scarl.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Ms. Heeman.
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist.
Yes.
Motion to suspend the rules passed by a vote of 7-0. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding ordinance 2022-107, please approach the podium now.
Seeing none, Madam President, I move to adopt 2022-107 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2022-107, made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn.
Yes.
Mr. Limpert.
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist.
Yes.
Ms. Heeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Scarl.
Yes.
Ms. Williamson.
Yes. Ordinance 2022-107 is adopted by a vote of 7-0. Moving into scheduling committee meetings for Wednesday, November 9th, 2022, which will be held virtually via GoToMeeting. I will schedule a Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee meeting on ordinance 2022-98 for Wednesday, November 9th at 7:15 p.m. for 10 minutes, and I would ask that the mayor or her designee be present. Councilman Glassburn, would you like to schedule a finance meeting?
Yes, I'd like Finance to meet at 7:25 to consider 2022-105 and ask that the Finance Director or designee be in attendance.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly, would you like to schedule a Streets and Transportation Committee meeting?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to schedule the Streets and Transportation Committee meetings to discuss 2022-99, 101, and 102 at 7:30 p.m. on that virtual meeting, and ask that the Economic and Community Development Director and the Service Director be there.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to excuse the absence of Council President Brossard?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to excuse Council President Brossard made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn.
Yes.
Mr. Limpert.
Yes.
Mr. Scarl.
Yes.
Ms. Williamson.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Ms. Gilchrist.
Yes.
Ms. Heeman.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes with a vote of 7-0. With the agenda being completed and there being no further business to come before council, this meeting of November 1st, 2022 is adjourned at 9:11 p.m.